Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Chimera Gaming 1K. And we're going to be seeing a new face on camera. I guess we're not going to be seeing faces, but we're going to be seeing new player Katie on the player 1 side, and we've seen Michael Hennick before on player 2 side. Again, I did not have the pleasure of, attending this event, but Dave, um, so graciously recorded all the footage for us today. So that is why we are covering this event. So unfortunately, what I'm getting at is I don't know what people are playing. The last time we saw Michael, he was piloting Beseech Storm. And we've never seen Katie, so I'm also not familiar with what she usually plays. Okay, so from what I can see from Michael's hand, it looks like he might be on Storm. There's Brainstorm Island, Brainstorm, and then the rest I can't really make out what it is. Katie is going to take a mulligan down to, I think it's 6. Whoa, is that a Murktide region? Okay, Michael might be on maybe a Doomsday variant if he's still playing combo. I know some Doomsday lists, they kind of use Murktide as like a backup because they do still dump a ton of cards into their graveyard. It's a way to close out the game without needing to, cast Doomsday or resolve Doomsday. Okay, so there's a Badlands. Is that a Goblin Engineer? So we might be seeing Rakdos Painter from Katie. Michael gonna start off with... Okay, no, I was wrong. Michael is just on Delver. So there's a island into Delver into Mishra's Bauble for Michael's first turn. Katie gonna draw for her turn. Looks like it was an Urza Saga. There's an Ancient Tomb from Katie going to go down to 20. And it looks like Dave did not remind anyone to be using life counters here. So I'm going to be doing this manually. Apologies if you hear me clicking. We see Agatha's Soul Cauldron. So this is most likely a take on Dom Harvey's Rakdos Cauldron list that we saw him put together for the face-to-face 1K. I'll put a note up in the card if you guys want to see that, but I was really impressed by that deck. But Michael going to do the Mishra's Bauble trick to make sure that he can flip a Delver. Flips a Lightning Bolt off of the top. Going to flip the Delver over. Going to draw the Lightning Bolt for the turn. Going to play a Polluted Delta as his land for the turn. Going to go to combat. Swing at Katie. Put her down to 15. Going to cast a Brainstorm. Pass the turn. Or sorry, not pass the turn. Katie just gives the go-ahead. Michael going to draw 3 cards. Looks like one of them was a Force of Will, one of them's Flooded Strand, and I'm not sure whether the third card is. Looks like it is a Scalding Tarn. So putting back the Flooded Strand. And looks like he's just going to put back the Scalding Tarn. Most likely just going to shuffle them away because he's getting kind of clogged down with lands. Katie going to exile the Brainstorm with the Agatha Soul Cauldron and draws another one for her turn. Down comes Great Furnace. That is the artifact land that taps for red. Is this just like a Goblin Walder or something? There's a Goblin Walder. Katie just going to pass it back. Michael most likely going to crack this Polluted Delta. Oh no, it looks like he does want the Scalding Tarn. Going to play the Scalding Tarn off the top. Looks like he's going to crack it. Doesn't need the Flooded Strand that's coming up next. Probably going to find, Volcanic Islands. Get his red sources going. So this does open up Lightning Bolts to get rid of this Goblin Engineer. But Katie doesn't really have anything going on in the graveyard. But might be better to deal with it before something spicy can happen. Just going to go straight into combat, attack Katie down to 12 with the Delver. Alright, second main phase. Here's another Brainstorm. Michael going to draw 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. Force of Negation, Ponder, and I think it was a Brazen Borrower, but I'm not 100% sure. But it looks like he is going to be putting the Ponder on the top. Looks like he wants to keep the Force of Negation though. Alright, gonna pass a turn, does the same thing. Katie gonna activate the Cauldron to exile the Brainstorm. Now she's gonna draw for turn, finds an Orcish Bowmaster. Kind of ill-timed when Michael's already cast 2 Brainstorms already. Down comes Wooded Foothills. Gonna crack the Wooded Foothills, put herself down to 11. Probably gonna find a Badlands. So this lets her cast the Orcish Bowmasters if needed, but can't really pick off the Insectile Aberration as it is a 3-2, and it is flying, so can't ping and then block, unfortunately. But it still does, you know, open up avenues of play for Katie. So not going to use the... Actually, I guess she could cast something for 2 mana here. Yeah, there's a Goblin Engineer. So this is probably where Michael does want to bolt the Goblin Welder. The moment that... I guess he could Force of Will if he has this, like, the Force of Will for this Goblin Engineer. Days wouldn't be particularly good because Katie does still have 1 floating mana from this Ancient Tomb. But yeah, we see Michael bolt the Welder in response to the Engineer. This will stop any shenanigans, even though there is another point in time. Like, once the Goblin Engineer resolves, the edge of the battlefield trigger will go on the stack. Looks like he's just not going to let it resolve. Michael going to Force of Will the Goblin Welder, putting himself down to 19. Didn't get to see what he exiled from the Force of Will, though. So using the 1 floating mana and the Badlands, Katie going to cast the Orcish Bowmaster, ping Michael down to 18, and create a 1/1 Orc Army token. Alright, so now, because there's an Agatha's Soul Cauldron on the battlefield, Katie can start to exile her own Goblin Engineer and Goblin Welders to make the Orc Army token or the Orcish Bowmasters and give them the activated abilities that they have. The key thing here is that Katie wasn't able to put a relevant artifact into the graveyard, so even if she does begin to allow her creatures to get those welder-like abilities, there's nothing to weld back. We're going to see Michael cast a Murktide Regent here. We're going to find out how big it is in just a moment. Looks like there's only going to be 2 spells in there. And looks like he's going to pay the full 3 mana, so it's only going to be a 5/5. But still, 8 points of damage is like super good. It is lethal on the next attack because after this, she's down to 6. Agatha's Soul Cauldron going to exile Goblin Welder, put a counter most likely on the Bowmaster so that both the Orc Army and the Bowmaster have a Welder ability. Finds a Broadside Bombardier. There's no way for her to kill the Murktide Regent with the Broadside, unfortunately. She can only deal 4 points of damage to it in total if she chucks the Agatha Soul Cauldron. I guess what she could do is she could kill the Insectile Aberration because the Murktide is only a 5/5 and she is at 6 points of life from what I can tell. She will survive 1 hit from the Murktide Regent. She does get another try to fling. So the Broadside Bombardier can sacrifice the Great Furnace to deal 2 points of damage to the Insectile Aberration. I'm not sure what happened there, but I think Katie tried to fling the Broadside Bombardier, but it can't fling itself. I wonder if Katie doesn't see the line of killing the Delver. Flings the Orc Army token. No, flinging the Bowmaster? I am confused here. Okay, so I think Michael has blocked the Orcish Bowmaster. Okay, so yeah, I think Michael has blocked the Orcish Bowmaster, and then Katie flings the Rakdos Cauldron to finish it off. Okay, so this is not terrible. This gives Katie, I guess, a little bit more time and one more Ancient Tomb activation, but Michael's going to take his turn, cast a Brainstorm, finds Force of Will, Ponder, and I think that's another Flooded Strand. Gonna put... not sure what cards he put on the top. So he has Brazen Borer, Flooded Strand, and 2 cards in hand. Okay, so it looks like he puts the Flooded Strand on the top. Going to... Oh. Did he put Brazen Borer on top? Finds another volcanic island. I'm sorry, guys, for this commentary. It's really hard to tell what he's putting on top because he's kind of clipping in and out of the screen. So I'm not sure, because I think he's like shuffling his cards while off screen, and I can't tell what they are. So apologies for that. Gonna Ponder, sees Force of Will, and I couldn't get a glimpse of the other 2 cards. Daze, Force of Will, and a Mishra's Bauble. And he is just going to shuffle. I think the best line is to try to just dig for like a Lightning Bolt or a Dragon's Reach Channeler. Like, he has Artifact, Creature, Instant, Land, Sorcery. So he has 5 card types in the graveyard. So if he finds a Dragon's Reach Channeler, Katie will not have... Yeah, Katie won't be able to fling... With the current board state, Katie won't be able to fling to kill the Dragon's Reach Channeler. So if he can find a Lightning Bolt or a Dragon's Reach Channeler, Michael's in pretty good position here. So it looks like Delver is going to swing, bring Katie down to 3. Katie gonna uptick that Urza Saga. So the thing is, does Katie have time? If she flings the Great Furnace... I guess because the Agatha... Oh, there's a Brazen Borer on the Broadside Bombardier. Alright, so this is going to delay Katie. So she's not... It's getting rough. I don't think she can survive the next turn. Katie going to attack with that Orc Army token and bring Michael down to 17. Yeah, I don't think she has a way of dealing with this Insectile Aberration. Yeah, she is just going to scoop it up. So that is going to be Michael taking it over Katie in game number 1. All right, lads and ladies, we are starting game number 2 for round number 3 of the Legacy 1K at Chimera Gaming. So we have Katie on player 1 side and Michael on player 2 side. Katie is piloting Dom Harvey's Rakdos Cauldron, and we have Michael piloting Grixis Delver in this event. Looks like Katie is going to keep her hand. She is on the play, so she gets to decide first. Looks like Michael is also going to keep. There's a Great Furnace into Shadow Spear for Katie. Michael going to draw for his turn. Finds a Flooded Strand off of the top of his library. Down comes Scalding Tarn. And passes the turn. No turn 1 play from Michael. Katie gonna draw, drops a Bloodstained Mire. No turn 2 play for Katie either. So Michael not losing too much tempo here, as Katie only has a Shadow Spear. Michael finds a Wasteland for his land, or for his draw for the turn. Going to play a Tropical Island instead. Going to Brainstorm. Try to get a perfect Brainstorm here with the Scalding Tarn. Katie is going to respond with cracking the Bloodstained Mire, and I think we're going to see an Orcish Bowmaster here. Looks like Katie does have Leyline of the Voids in her deck, but didn't start the game with one onto the board. So those cards are most likely going to become dead later on. There's a Bowmaster in response to the Brainstorm. So Scalding Tarn is going to find a volcanic island. This is a bolt on the Orcish Bowmaster. No, it's an Unholy Heat. So the Unholy Heat will kill the Orcish Bowmaster. Katie will still get to ping Michael down. So sorry, I've been missing some of the life total changes. So Michael should be at 8 because of the Scalding Tarn, cracking and losing 1 life, and then Katie pinging with the enter the battlefield trigger of Orcish Bowmaster. Katie also loses 1 life, goes down to 19 from her Bloodstained Mire, but on her turn, she's going to play Urza Saga into Broadside Bombardier, going to attack Michael for 3 damage, 2 from the Broadside, 1 from the Orc Army token, and pass the turn. Michael going to draw for his turn, finds a Polluted Delta that he put on the top there with the Brainstorm, and immediately going to go fetch and put himself down to 15. Right? Is my math right? 3 from Katie, 2 from the fetches. Looks like Michael has another... Yep, there's a Lightning Bolt targeting the Broadside Bombardier. And down comes Murktide Regent. Murktide Regent gonna be, I think, 6/6? Yeah, because there's 2 lands in there. So... yeah. 2 lands and then 3 instances of sorceries. So Unholy Heat, Brainstorm, and Lightning Bolt for the spells. Katie gonna draw for the turn and then put down a Wooded Foothills for the land for turn. Going to crack it immediately. Gonna go down to 18. So does Katie have a way of dealing with this Murktide Regent? She can start making constructs with the Urza Saga and then kind of gain life back with this Shadow Spear. So if she does make a construct, the construct will be a 3/3. The Shadow Spear, Great Furnace, and then itself. And then if it makes another one, both of them will be 4/4s. One of them can be a 5/5 with a Shadow Spear. Alright, Katie gonna pay 2 mana for a Agatha Soul Cauldron. So this makes the Orc Army a Broadside Bombardier. Okay, she's gonna tap out, finds a Goblin Engineer. So this is gonna put, looks like it's gonna resolve. Katie, she gets to put any artifact into the graveyard. What are we gonna see? Looks like she's considering a Phyrexian Devourer. So this is a card that pairs really, really well with Walking Ballista. So I'll throw it up onto the screen and post, but let me pull it up and then I can read off exactly what it does. Okay, and Katie's gonna activate the Agatha Soul Cauldron to exile the Phyrexian Devourer. So anything with a counter on it has the ability to remove the top card of the library from the game, and you put X plus. Sorry, you remove the top card of your library from the game to put +X counter on the creature, where X is equal to that card's casting cost. So you can basically mill your entire library, and you can put counters on the creature for however many things. So here she's exiling the Soul Cauldron, so that'll put 2 more counters on the Orc Army. The Orc Army is then going to exile the Leyline of the Void, giving it another +4. This is going to kill the Murktide because I think the Murktide has blocked the Orc Army token. So I guess the Leyline of the Voids aren't as dead as I thought. They do give quite a bonus if you're using Phyrexian Devourer. But Michael going to Wasteland away the Urza Saga. He does have quite a few cards in hand, so he just had them off screen. But we do see another Murktide Regent in his hand and a Mishra's Bauble. I'm not sure. I think that might be another Wasteland in his hand too. So down comes Mishra's Bauble. There's Murktide, Wasteland, and an unknown card. Bobble's going to target the top of Katie's library. Couldn't really quite tell what it is because of the glare. Looks like it's a Brazen Borrower in Michael's hand. The Brazen Borrower can do nicely to get rid of the Orc Army token. So this is technically... It's not like an infinite combo, but it is a combo to kill if you can get Walking Ballista into the graveyard. Okay, so it looks like Michael is going to scoop it up. Katie is going to tie it 1-1. Okie dokie, we are starting game number 3. Michael is going to be on the play as he took game number 1, and then Katie took back game number 2. So both players are tied 1-1. Katie on Rakdos Cauldron and Michael on Rakdos Delver. We're going to see, can Michael disrupt Katie's game plan long enough? Ah, that hurts. Katie gonna start the game with a Leyline of the Void in play. Michael going to cast a Ponder, finds a Delver and a Murktide, and then couldn't see that last card, but Delver is a pretty decent way to start the game if Katie can't interact and if Michael has some bit of disruption. But it's really hard for Michael to interact with the graveyard. There's a Mishra's Bauble going to target Katie. Can't really see that because of the glare. Michael going to draw a card during Katie's upkeep. Katie going to draw a Fury for the turn. So Michael does know that there's a Fury on board. I'm just going to update the live totals here. Sorry about that. Okay, so Katie starts off with Petal, Ancient Tomb. Going to go down to 18. Crack one of the petals. And here is a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Michael looks like he drew a Bauble off the Bauble, but I'm not entirely sure. But Fable is going to resolve, going to create a 2/2 Goblin Shaman token that whenever it attacks, you create a treasure token that can sacrifice itself for any color of mana. So this is quite a board that Michael has to face down against, but Bolt is going to get rid of that Goblin Shaman token. There is a Mishra's Bauble. Gonna bobble Katie once again. Looks like it might have been an Urza's Saga on that one. I think it is. Gonna uptick the Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and looks like she is going to rummage some number of cards. Michael does have an Unholy Heat in hand. Going to pitch... So, sorry, Katie's going to pitch a Phyrexian Devourer to the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So if Michael has a way of getting rid of this Phyrexian Devourer out of the graveyard, then he doesn't need to worry about it later. But again, Delver kind of struggles to interact with the opponent's graveyard at any point. Looks like there's a Urza Saga for Katie for the land for turn, and then go to crack the Lotus Petal and cast a Goblin Engineer. Michael just going to let it resolve. Looks like he has a Daze as an interaction spell for his turn, but looking against an Ancient Tomb, Daze not too well positioned, especially when Katie had double Lotus Petal to start off. Looks like there's an Rakdos Cauldron going to come into the graveyard. If the Goblin Engineer can live long enough, then Michael's in a really bad position here. He just has so much to deal with, and this Leyline of the Void is like very hindering. Down comes a Volcanic Island for Michael. Down comes the Delver, and there's an Unholy Heat. Deals with the Goblin Engineer. So kind of ever so slowly dealing with Katie's threats. Saga's going to tick up to 2. Fable of the Mirror Breaker is going to flip over into Reflection of Kiki Jiki. The Reflection allows you to tap 1 mana and tap itself to create a copy of another non-legendary creature that you control. Alright, down comes Great Furnace. Katie's going to play that as the land for the turn, and looks like it's just going to pass. Katie going to pivot into the Construct plan. Delver is going to flip, revealing another Daze for Michael. Down comes Polluted Delta. Michael, you're going to go to combat, swing at Katie for 3, bring her down to 15. Alright, Katie going to drop herself down to 12 to make a Construct here. Construct is only going to be a 2/2 for now, but if Katie makes another one, they will be 3/3s. And then 4/4s if she can find another artifact. So quite a sizable board, especially when you take into consideration that there is the reflection of Kiki-Jiki. It'll make 3 5/5 constructs. Looks like she's just going to float the mana instead of making another construct. I wonder what 1 mana spell that she's looking for. 1 or 0. She finds a Shadow Spear. Yeah, I would have probably, if this was the plan, I probably would have preferred to get, like, just make a construct. You don't have to dedicate resources out of your library, and it forces Michael to deal with your entire board. And, you know, Delver's board interaction is quite light, especially when they're out of reach of lightning bolts. And Michael's already used an Unholy Heat, so you don't have to worry about that. So down comes Bloodstained Mire. Katie gonna use the floating mana to make a copy of the construct. I guess she could just equip. I don't know, like, this is also quite questionable. Like, if you weren't gonna make the construct token, you might as well just, like, hardcast Fury, deal with the Delver, and just put an even bigger threat that you can equip with Shadow Spear next turn. How big are these tokens? They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Michael should be at 11, and Katie should go up to. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She should go up to 18. All right, Michael going to draw for his turn and then cast a Ponder. Finds Delver, Brainstorm, Flooded Strand off the Ponder. Is it good enough? He deems it good enough. Gonna draw one of the cards and then crack the Polluted Delta to shuffle away the other 2 cards. So this construct on Katie's side of the battlefield is currently a 4/4. There's 3 artifacts on the battlefield: the Great Furnace, the Shadow Spear, and the construct itself. And then Shadow Spear gives +1/+1 to the equipped creature. So it is a 4/4. Katie can make them. Katie could make another 4/4 and then make the current one a 5/5 with the reflection of Kiki-Jiki if she doesn't add any other artifacts to the board. But Michael going to cast this Brainstorm. So let's see if he can get out of this. Looks like he's putting a Scalding Tarn on the top. Don't know what that one is. Down comes a Dragon's Rage Channeler. Is it Delirious? There's a Bauble. Gonna mill Murktide Regent. Oh, it's not Delirious because there's a Leyline of the Void. Down comes Wasteland. Wasteland can probably strip away. Probably you would most likely want to go to the Great Furnace. It kind of shrinks the construct, but it's not shrinking the construct at any notable size. I mean, I guess you could technically double block the Shadow Speared construct with the Delver and the Dragon's Rage Channeler just to get it off the board and then take 3 damage. Or, yeah, you would take 4 damage. You would take 4 damage off of. No, it'd be 3. Yeah, okay, so Michael does Wasteland the Great Furnace. Bauble is going to target Katie. Didn't quite see what that one was. During the end step, Katie's going to crack the Bloodstained Mire. So that brings her down to 17. Finds a Badlands. Alright, Michael gonna draw off of the Bauble during Katie's upkeep. Katie gonna draw for turn. Does she have a second red source? Looks like it was Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Fury. She's gonna exile the Fable to cast Fury. There's a Daze. Gonna trigger the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Wow, Michael's gonna keep it on top. Alright, Katie gonna pay for the Daze with an Ancient Tomb, dropping herself down to 15. She's not too worried because she has a Shadow Spear that gives her lifelink. Fury's gonna resolve. Michael's board is gonna get completely decimated here. And Katie gonna make another construct with that floating mana from the Ancient Tomb. Gonna swing in for 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should be 7 points of damage. So it should bring Mike down to 4 and Katie up to 1, 2, 3, 19. Michael going to cast a Ponder, not looking too good for his side of the board. Leyline of the Void has just completely taken away a lot of Michael's resources here because he couldn't cast that Murktide Regent. Yeah, and it looks like that is the game. So Katie is going to take it over Michael in game number 3, piloting Rakdos Cauldron. I really like the Rakdos Cauldron list. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. If you guys do want a deck list, let me know in the comments, and I will reach out to Katie to see if there are any changes that she made from Dom's initial list that we saw a few weeks ago in the face-to-face event. I will see you guys next time. Take it easy.